How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I want to talk about one great asset that I found in the marketplace. It's called Ultra Dynamic Sky, and this will get you this very nice realistic sky system, and it has a weather system. Then everything is just with the click of a button without you having to do anything crazy or anything complex. Now it also works with the volumetric clouds that we get in Unreal 4.26, and works also amazingly well with real-time ray tracing. Now, just to get this out of the way, I'm not being paid to say this. I'm not being sponsored by the creator of the asset. I bought this with my own money back in December. I've been testing it out and I think it's amazing. Before we get into the video, remember to hit that like button, leave me a comment for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe if you haven't, and ring that bell for notification. There's also the Patreon if you want to help out the channel. There's Twitter and the Discord. That's a great place to be if you have any questions. There's a great community there to hang out with. So what I have here is a very simple scene. There's nothing out of the ordinary. This is actually from the starter content, including the mannequin. And the only thing that I have that's usually different is the Ultra Dynamic Sky asset, and I have real-time ray tracing turned on. By the way, you can also use this without real-time ray tracing, but I just decided to leave it on just because it looks really nice. What you have here is an asset that will give you a weather system and a way to control the sky that's really amazing. So if you're doing like exterior scenes, if you're doing architectural visualization, or if you're doing like product visualization like cars, and you need a nice realistic sky that's not just a static image, this is the way to go. The other thing that I love about this system is with just the click of a button, you can get something like this. So as you can see, not only is it raining, it created like a very cloudy sky, but there's also drips on my floor, and there's also some wetness on my floor. And if I go here into these assets, you can see there's actually water dripping from them. There's actually water dripping from these too, and I'm going to talk about that later in the video, so make sure you stick around. But I just want to show you how easy this is to use this asset and to get this kind of like nice weather pattern that it's actually affecting your world. Okay, so what I did is I actually deleted the Ultra Dynamic Sky asset and everything went black. The reason for that is because I do recommend that you start with a blank level for this, that you don't have any atmospherics, any sky fears, or any exponential fog. It will all come with the asset. So make sure you get rid of all that so there's no conflicts. And just go into the folder, because this is one of those add to your project kind of assets. Go into the folder, go into blueprints. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the dynamic sky first, and then we're going to be exploring the dynamic weather. So I'm going to grab this blueprint and just throw it into my scene. And as you can see, instantly by just being in there, I get a nice sky with some nice clouds. And I have a sun right here, and as you can see, the volumetric clouds are affecting the sun. One of the things I like about this is when you use the volumetric clouds by itself, you have to use a cloud material, and you have to modify it. You definitely have to modify it, because if you use what's in the engine content, it looks like there's a weird tiling over there. And you can see that on one of my 4.26 preview, where there's actually a weird tiling on the clouds, because you are supposed to modify that material. So this asset already modifies that material for you and gives you some nice, fairly realistic clouds. And there's a ton of things that you can modify about this asset. So let's just get started right here on the basic controls. You have time of day, self-explanatory. We can move this, and you're going to see that our sun just moves around, and you're going to see that my sun's being blocked by the clouds as well. I can actually bring this down all the way, and we have some nighttime. So let me just bring my sun back up again, and you're going to see that when you're using the volumetric clouds, this is fairly resource intensive, so you got to be careful whenever you're moving these values around. Now on top of that, you also get, if you don't want to bog your system down, or if you're creating a game for something like the Switch or for a mobile, you can also use all these other options that are right here. So you have static clouds. This is just as if you have an HDRI. And you can also select 2D dynamic clouds, which are much less performance intensive than the volumetric clouds, but they still look really nice, and they're moving, and there's a bunch of stuff that you can do to these assets as well. But let's go back to volumetrics. Now over here you have other things that will allow you to play with your clouds, like the cloud coverage. Again, just with one simple slider, you can make a clear sky completely, and you can also make with a lot of coverage, you can make this kind of like very cloudy, about to rain kind of sky, and all with just one slider. Now I'm not going to go through every single slider here because this will take me several hours. That's just how many options they have here, but I'm just going to go through the ones that I find most important and that affect a lot of your game. Now you also have the time setup, so you can set up when it's the dawn time, because it's just set by these values right here, when it's dusk going to come up. And you can also set the brightness, and by the way, this controls our overall of the intensity of the sky. If you want to increase the light intensity, you'll have to scroll all the way down to where the sun's located, and that's where you increase your light intensity. Now if we go back here, there's also a setting that a lot of people are going to like, especially if you're doing an outdoors type of game or interactive feature, is that you have an animated time of day. Now the animated time of day, the way that it works is the day and night length, they are calculated in minutes. So right now I have 10 minutes for day and 10 minutes for night, but I'm just going to reduce that to something ridiculous that's going to be moving very fast, just so you guys can see it on video. So if I check the animate time of day, actually nothing happened. The reason for that is because this is meant to be used while you are in the game. So if I hit play, you're gonna see that our shadows are moving because the time of day is being animated, and there you see our moon is just going around. It's going really fast because again, it has to do with the values that I added over there. So right now it's like 1/3 of a minute that it lasts per day and night. So it's really cool. You can actually play with an animated time of day, and as you can see, it looks really nice, and we have the real-time ray tracing on, which make things look so much better. So right here you have the volumetric clouds value. These are the same values you can see in the material for all the volumetric clouds, and it allows you to control that. So it's not taking control away from you. It's actually allowing you to get really deep if you wanted to, or do it, you know, very easily like I'm doing it right now. So you also have controls for the 2D dynamic clouds if you want to mess with that. And right here we have the cloud speed. So the cloud speed right now, I think it's going a little bit too fast for like real world clouds. So we could do like this, and right now you're gonna see that they're moving super slow, but I think this is a little bit better. So you can play with the speed of your clouds here. If you go all the way to 1, it's going to I don't know, look like one of those time lapses that you see of the sky. And let's bring it down to its usual value, and you can also change the direction. So now the clouds are coming this way, but if you want the clouds to flow in another direction, you just do change the angle. So this is based on that angle, so that's why I did 180, and it's going in exactly the opposite position. There's also the cloud face, so this will give you kind of like different cloud shapes depending on the number you put in. You're gonna see that 12 gives me a different type of cloud than 50, or that 2, things like that. So you can get tons of different things with these clouds. And then we also have the shadows. This thing that's called the cloud wisps is kind of like these things that you see over here. They're not moving, but they're like, when you have a clear sky, there's usually like a little bit of clouding over there. But if you don't want this to be there, you can just turn it off, and there you go. That is if you would just want to have your atmospherics in there. I like to leave this in here because it gives a nice touch. And another thing that I like about this is when you get into the sun controls, you can also change the angle of your sun. So right now you have if you go all the way to the top, you can control where your sun comes out and goes down. But in the sun controls, you can also change the rotation of your sun, which is also very important. You can change the sunlight intensity. Like I said, it's right here. If you want more light, this will be the control to use. Now let's go to nighttime so we can talk about the moon. I'm gonna do 2300. There's my nighttime, and there's my moon. So I have a nice moon over there, but there are plenty of things that you could do to the moon. So we have the moon scale. So if you want to get kind of like one of those planets that have a moon that's really close to it, you can do something like that, and you have a big moon right here. You also have the moon rotation like you do with the sun, and you have the moon phase. This is something very cool because let's say if I wanted to do kind of like a half moon, you could also do a quarter moon, I think this is called. Sorry, I don't know the moon phase names, but the fact is you could change the phases of the moon. And if you wanted to do like a realistic scene with a moon phase, this will be the way to go. And you could also use a custom texture for the moon if you wanted to. So if you wanted to do kind of like if you played Overwatch, you're going to see that the moon has like these little details as if there's a colony on the moon. You could also do that. That's actually really cool. And just add a texture and that's it. You don't have to mess a ton with that. You can also change the stars. So if I wanted to have more stars in here, or if I wanted to be more intense, you can also do so. I think this is a bit ridiculous, but just for demonstration purposes. I'm actually going to get rid of my clouds and show you something that I find really cool that I wasn't expecting this to have, and it's the Aurora. And you have an Aurora Borealis. So this is, I believe, if you go into some of the polls, you're going to see this. If you want to have kind of like this nice Aurora setting, I think this is very cool. And you can also change the colors of it. All right, now we are back into our nice cloudy sky. And we're going to now talk about the ultra dynamic weather. For that, we're just going to drag this blueprint into the scene. And for the ultra dynamic weather to work, you will need an ultra dynamic sky in the scene already. If you don't have this one will not work. So I'm just going to click here and drop it into the scene. And as you can see, it already started to rain. So we have some nice rain coming down. And if you get closer, you're going to see that there are some nice splashes. By the way, if you don't see splashes when you're using this asset and it's raining, it's because your asset doesn't have collision. Your asset needs to have collision in order for the rain to make these little splashes. But the best thing about this weather is that it's literally with the click of a button, you can get clear skies, you can get partially cloudy skies, and you can also get a thunderstorm like that. So now if I wanted to have the wetness effect, all I would have to do is actually go all the way down here to my material, double click it, and change the master material to this one right here, which already has the changes that it needs to get that wetness effect. So if you can see, it applied it to everything right here, and it's creating some puddles, just like when it rains and it's being nice and really reflective. I can actually go into this one right here. Actually, let me just turn this off so it's easier to select this cube. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into this map and we're going to throw in this one right here. So I turn on my dynamic weather effect again. And as you can see, we have some wetness and we have some dripping right here. And that's just by using their function. It actually comes with the pack, so you don't have to do anything crazy, just add the function. And now I'm actually gonna show you how that's done. All right, here we are. And this is just the classic started content material that comes with your Unreal Engine. The only changes that I made is instead of all these nodes going straight into the final input, what you need to add is just this function. So just right click and type weather, and you're gonna see that you have one for snow and you have one for wet. Now for this one, all you have to do is plug in all your maps where they should be plugged in. So base, roughness, normal, and height. In this case, this function does need height because without height, it cannot determine how the puddles of rains are going to be on top of your material. So that's why it's really important. I just brought in a random height texture map that's from the starter content. And you can also need to tell this function what you want, whether you want the dripping effect, which the material that's on the cube and the sphere has, or whether you want to have puddles. So all I did is I'd right click and I did a search for a Boolean. You're gonna get a static Boolean right here, and it comes false by default. All you have to do is check it so it's true. So this works with base color, roughness, and normal. Your height, if you're using a displacement map, this is where you will add that function. So you'll plug in your displacement map right here, and you will plug in your out from the function into the displacement from this height. In case you were curious about the dripping effect, as you can see, it's exactly the same material. The only differences is the static Boolean, instead of being on the puddle slot, it's on the dripping effect slot. I will, however, be making another video on how to do this with the Megascan material. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that one. Thanks everyone for watching. There's a Patreon if you want to help out the channel. Remember to leave a like and a comment. Can you just let me know where are you going to be using this? It'll be very interesting to see what kind of scenes you want to come up with this kind of setting. So thank you for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video.